Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Sue Thoughts, and joining me today is my colleague, Jamie Nunez. Jamie, want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Hey, Sue. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We are part of the education outreach team at Common Sense. And in today's session, we are going to be highlighting some of our Common Sense, more safety and privacy resources in this title this session that we've entitled Online Safety, Practicing Safe Engagement in a Digital World. This session is recorded and can be found on the Common Sense Education YouTube channel. And we invite you to subscribe to have access to all the great content that we have there and be notified when it comes up. So let's get started, Jamie. So let's first talk about what is it, about online safety that we keep getting questions about. So Steve, if you could share that slide for us. We have one about going back a couple. We have one about why safety concerns are plaguing our students' digital lives. Thanks so much. So Jamie, you put in some of these questions that you've been getting.
Yeah, I think, what's really difficult or one of the opportunities I think educators have is to really reframe their questions about how they're thinking about online safety. So things like, as an educator, as a parent, if you're receiving things like, how do I avoid sending nude images, or how do I even talk about this with my kids, or what exactly is online grooming? I think what's important here is that we're bombarded with these messages of protecting our kids' safety. And I think our invitation this morning is to reconsider, reframe that narrative. Yeah.
Right.
So, and any questions that you get sort of as you think about what that looks like in schools
I don't
that you
usually
work
get
with?
them from kids. I get
Yeah.
them from district administrators and parents who are most concerned about a lot of these safety issues, and they're not seeing them in the Common Sense content. They don't see the words, predator or grooming or sex trafficking, right? And these are issues that, of course, they're very concerned about. But at the same time, we don't necessarily use these words. So if you search our Common Sense content, you're not going to find, the word grooming in the content. And instead, the way that we address these issues is not that we don't address these issues and prepare our students for, the realities of living in an online engaged world. We talk about them in terms of, the positive, right? I think we frame it a little bit differently. We talk about privacy and healthy relationships. So Steve, you could show us that slide there about, what it is that we do have conversations about. We do talk about, framing a conversation around what to share, what information to share online, especially for our young students. And then we talk about healthy relationships as our students get older and engaged with each other. How do you make sure that what you're doing is a friendship and, in a romantic relationship, how do you make sure that those are healthy and not risk related, situations that you're putting yourself in?
Absolutely, Sue. And I think that's key, right? That we want to make sure that from age and stage we are introducing these concepts, not to put fear, instill fear in our kids, but really to
Yeah.
think about what it actually means for them to protect that information, and protect sort of the content
Yeah.
that they're sharing online. Yeah.
So you have given us, like, on the next slide, you'll see that there are a bunch of lessons here, and these are all lessons from the Common Sense Digital Citizenship curriculum, and we've kind of divided them up a little bit. On one side, you'll see lessons related to privacy, and then on the right side, you'll see lessons related to healthy online relationships. And so what I want to point out is that, at kindergarten, we don't have the kindergarten lesson up here, but it is all about protecting our students, right? And keeping them kind of away from websites where they do interact with, with people that they don't know, right? And it's called, my online community, right? And where do we send them to on websites that they are safe and that they are protected? But then, if you'll see on the left-hand side there, protecting your privacy online, as your students get into a little bit older grades, as they're in early elementary, we start talking about, internet traffic light is a way for you to know when sites are okay, when they're be a little bit cautious, or when, it's okay. You should really use that red light and say, okay, that's not appropriate, right?
Can we get into that that video, I think it'd be really great to highlight, I think, what our lessons do, our digital
Yeah.
trails lessons. Yeah. Steve, would you
So
be
that
so
one,
kind to share that video? Yeah, on the next slide.
absolutely.
I just don't know where all these prints are coming from. It's a mystery. Whom do they belong to?
You know, there's some footprints that you just can't erase.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about something we all do. We all leave footprints online. They're called digital footprints. Every time you go online to play a game, type an email, or search the internet, you leave a trail.
Really? I'm online all the time sharing things. I play online, I post online, I submit and send things online almost every day.
Well, since you're online a lot, you have footprints all over the place, and it's really hard to erase these footprints.
So you can kind of see what we're showcasing, and I think what Sue's highlighting is this, what information is okay to share, to have in your digital footprint, right? So from an early age, I think it's really critical and key to teach our kids about what content that they're sharing, whether or not that content is acceptable, and then to have those conversations as they're navigating those spaces. Sue, any thoughts
Absolutely.
on that? Yeah.
So I think, when we're talking about, when we're giving advice to teachers or to parents, and we're using these lessons at an early elementary age, it's about exposure. It's about what kind of information you're putting out about yourself that allows you to be found, contacted, at an age when we don't want our kids to receive that contact from people that they don't know, right? So in the beginning, when our kids are young, early elementary, we really focus on that privacy piece, what's okay, what websites are okay to engage in, right? And not to expose themselves too much. As they get older, it's a different story. What were you going to say, Jamie?
I was just going to ask you, so what happens as our kids start to navigate these spaces, navigate relationships in their lives? Like what should we be teaching them about, protecting themselves and online safety in general?
It starts to get, I'm not going to say unrealistic, but, it's the truth is that as they get older, they are gaming with other kids. They are going on to places where they have common interests. They are meeting, people that they don't necessarily know, or even if they do know them through school or through a friend, they are engaging with other people online, right? Hopefully other people their age, based on their interests. And this whole idea of, stranger danger doesn't work so well as you get into, as they get older, into middle school. And so the lessons then really focus on healthy relationships, healthy friendships, right? What does it mean to be a good friend online? And so establishing those ground rules for how it is that we should be listening to our gut. Right. I mean, that's a big part of it, is listening to our gut. When somebody is a friend to you online and they ask you something, it's just like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Like that seems a little bit creepy. And how to listen to that whenever that does happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think there is a wonderful sexting and relationship lessons that we have
It's my
on
favorite.
our site. I figured. But to Sue's point, I think we need to be able to feel comfortable with our kids at talking about these red flag feelings that they might have, things that they want to be cautious over, and role model, and I should say role play with them, what that would look like when they're exposed to some of these tricky situations online.
Yeah, can we see that slide real quick so that folks know what we're talking about? So, in the next one, you'll see the sexting and relationships. That's the first slide from that lesson, and what you'll see in that lesson is students talk about what it means to share secrets, right? And be in a trusting relationship with someone, and what it means, self-disclosure means, and then and why building trust and sharing things with people feels good, right? When somebody shares a secret with me, then it's great for somebody to be able to trust me in that relationship. So the question is, what happens when you get this, what we call a red flag feeling, right? So on the next slide, you'll see that there is this red flag feeling definition.
Yeah, and I think part of what we're hoping to do is being able to normalize these definitions for our kids, right? So they don't sound hokey, or they don't sound like not something that they can actually they can actually take away from, right? It's like, what are the things that make you uncomfortable? What are those things that are making you sad or even anxious? Again, supporting your students as they're grappling with that. So if we were to kind of summarize the last few minutes, what would be some sort of takeaways that we might kind of share with our audience?
Yeah. So I think first of all, the way that we frame it at Common Sense is not, necessarily shying away from these pieces and these ideas, but I think it is about being proactive and giving our students the tools that they need to have an understanding of what it is that they need to be aware of when they are engaging online. So even at a very young age, teaching our students about how to safely protect their information and their privacy when they go online and why that's important, right? Yes, we all love to share. We all love to share information about ourselves and connect with other people, but why do we not share everything all the time, right? With all kinds of people and just put it all out there, right? Kids need a little bit of information and practice about how to do this.
Absolutely. And the second takeaway that we want to highlight is ensuring that you are teaching your kids what the qualities of a healthy relationship looks like. What does that look like online? How do you model that? What are ways in which students can actually feel comfortable sharing with one another about what makes a healthy relationship? And, I think our lessons really highlight that for our students. But as an educator, I think it's really relevant, or it's prevalent that or it's critical, I should say, that you help to reinforce what those qualities are. So when you see it, name it, to help to develop that for kids moving forward.
Yeah. So not only are we, modeling these healthy relationships, but in this last little takeaway, we are also modeling on the next slide, how to deal with situations whenever they do occur, right? Introducing dilemmas, because these are not black and white situations that our students are in, right? So some stranger's not going to pop out of the internet and say, give me your information, or right, like that doesn't happen. It comes with lots of trust building. And so when your students encourage that gut feeling of anxiety or like, I'm not sure, what do? Because you're teaching them how to practice these situations and model these situations in class and talk about them and discuss them before they happen in real life. Right. So that is the idea.
Beautiful. Any final takeaways, Sue? Anything that you are thinking about if you were to, if you're an educator on the call, things like, what should I do next? What should be sort of, as I think about online safety for my students, what should I be doing tomorrow for my kids?
I think to me, because the lack of terminology around, predators or, grooming or sex trafficking, I don't want people to think that we're not being proactive in the common sense lessons. We are definitely being proactive, but we're doing it in a way that, gives students the confidence to be able to engage online in a positive and constructive way, while also being very aware of the risks. We are not ignoring the risks. The risks are there. We are aware of the risks, but how do we make sure that our students are confident when they are going into these spaces and have the ability to know what to do whenever they encounter these risks? That's the most important part. So if I were a teacher, of course I'd be teaching these lessons. Of course I'd be having conversations. I'd be asking, how to analyze the videos that are going across their screen, and be asking them, all kinds of questions, and be curious, right? Yeah. What about you, Jamie? Any last takeaways?
Yeah, I just echo, I think, that sentiment, which is, let's think about reframing the narrative, the stories that we're telling our kids. Clearly, we know that there's dangers online. Clearly, we want to create those parameters, those safety nets for our kids. But I think if I were to ask you to think about how you're going to teach these lessons, is think about the angle in which you want to contribute. We've provided a narrative, which is founding sort of the lessons are finding these topics on privacy and reinforcing healthy online relationships. But maybe you want to think about it in other ways. But just be clear and be really balanced, as Sue pointed out when you're describing those lessons. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. And I appreciate your perspective. I hear your little one next to you sick at home today. So I'll let you get back to that. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. In the recording, you'll see the link to the slide deck that we used today with the links to all the lessons. But by all means, feel free to just check out the common sense lessons that we have on digital citizenship. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Sue.
Thanks.